Dr. Tyson. My name is Vicki Hudson. My group met on Friday, November 22nd at 10:30 a.m. for about 90 minutes. 8 of us were gathered in my family room and sat in a circular pattern. We did not have a co-leader present. The purpose of this group was to conduct a self-help type group session with the focus on self-care in relation to loss or adversity, and for this group that included divorces, deaths in families, and various health issues. And prior to this group session, I've held a type of spiritual and social support group in my home, and some were friends, some are new, and one unexpected participant was my boss. My original proposal was to focus on loss, but under your academic advisement, I have altered my focus towards self-care. In discussing group dynamics, mine began with pre-planning. I considered my topic, my members, I studied and reviewed group techniques, and anticipated areas that I would stumble over. For the warm-up phase, I began by thanking my members for their willingness to participate and introduced myself in relation to my studies and this assignment. I explained the purpose of the group and how it would differ from our typical Friday mornings. I explained my role as leader to facilitate conversation, to keep us on topic, to make sure everybody was able to participate, and to ensure a meaningful session. I tried to use a positive tone while establishing a sense of safety and trust, as I conveyed to them that we want what was shared in the group to stay confident outside the group. I then asked each member to introduce themselves and state an area of loss or adversity that seems to be hindering their current ability for self-care. This was for the dual purpose of setting their focus on the topic while establishing a sense of safety by allowing them each to see that they all were willing to share personal issues. To help members with uneasiness, I practiced the technique seen in the Corey's videos. I asked the members to take a moment and notice how they felt in the room, and I asked them to notice the thoughts that they had during those moments. In sharing, many members said that they were surprised by their reactions. While some were unexpectedly comfortable, others said they felt hesitant, and one who had recently lost her mother said she actually thought about leaving. During the group, I got to practice cutting off with a few and help them stay on topic. I would say, Becky, that's how you felt last year, but we're looking for how you feel now, today, within this group. I noticed after a few rounds that a few that were overly verbal and non-focused became more and more succinct with their responses. In the working stage, I asked members to think about the area of concern they shared earlier and then open the discussion time. The conversation deepened the topic, and I practiced reflecting, summarizing, and drawing out the quiet ones. After this, I shared a few things that I've learned about the importance of self-care through my studies at Liberty. I then read a list of 12 ways to better care for ourselves from a Psychology Today article. I asked the members to think about the areas of self-care that they did well. They shared afterwards and included getting enough sleep, prayer time, music, and time at the beach. Next, in the working stage, each were to think about an area that they would like to incorporate into the coming year. I then divided them into dyads to discuss for about 3 to 4 minutes. We reconvened as a group, and then I asked each to share with the group what their partner's goals were. We ended with a round with each sharing what stood out to them from the group. Most shared that they didn't realize that everybody struggled as much as they did, with one saying she was surprised at her own reactions, from wanting to leave at first, to becoming aware of the origins of her resistance, to actually beginning to share. That was my boss. I closed with an overall summary of the members sharing struggles of self-care and tagged on their goals. Some leadership techniques that I used were keeping the purpose and content in mind. I used active listening and reflecting often. I practiced clarification and summarization. Empathizing was the big one. I also set an example of openness by going first with each activity. I had full participation, with my most quietest member seeming eager to share with confidence after she was called on. In self-assessing, overall I approached the group project with the ideals of group dynamics in mind: the pre-planning, setup, focusing content, techniques and stages, and building comfort and trust. But I felt way too nervous to fully allow the topic to deepen sufficiently, in my opinion. I think mostly I wasn't expecting my boss to show up. I feel she can see right through me, so I was extra self-conscious. But in the end, it was she that seemed to benefit the most from the one-time session. She later told me that she doesn't share easily, but somehow I made it possible for her to do so. My challenge was scanning the room while someone was talking. My tendency was to focus on them, and so I noticed when I wasn't, and deliberately and awkwardly began to scan the room. I definitely need to practice this skill. I felt I did well in keeping the purpose in mind. Also, shifting the group through the levels of focus went smoothly for me. The part I felt I should have handled differently was in pre-planning. I thought I had sufficiently prepared, but when the group time came, I saw I could have been more prepared. I should have rehearsed the things I planned to allow my confidence to be higher in turn to develop the topic more fully. I noticed that I worried that some were uncomfortable and that I was wasting their time. So I had to do some quick self-talk and read the room to see if this fear was a reality. But from the comments afterwards, I found that they all enjoyed it, and some asked if we could do this more often. In conclusion, the highlight for me was to see the techniques turn a group of people into a working group with a specific purpose overall and for each. Watching the members respond and adapt from our typical group dynamic into a functioning self-help group by the use of rounds and dyads and cutting off and reflection and linking was fascinating. My takeaway, although I was nervous, I find that group work is the type of work that I am most excited about. I hope to be able to incorporate group work into my career and ministry as the Lord leads me. God created us to be social beings with Him and others. And as James 5:16 admonishes, for us to confess our sins to one another and pray for one another that we may be healed. As an effective group leader, I hope to help facilitate this healing. Thank you.